Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to pull out the key knowledge from, well, often an overload of information.
That's the goal.
And today we are diving headfirst into the SUI blockchain.
Yep, SUI.
We've gone through the official docs, some articles giving the overview, the history, really trying to get a handle on it.
There's quite a bit out there.
For sure. So our mission today really is to figure out what SUI actually is, how it works, under the hood, and maybe why it's popping up so much in blockchain discussions, cut through the noise.
Makes sense. And it's interesting, even the name SUI.
Right.
It's from the Japanese word for water. And you kind of see that theme, fluidity, flow in their branding, even their token names, SUI and MIST.
Oh, water, like smooth transactions, maybe?
Yeah, I think that's the idea they're going for. Hints at efficiency.
Okay, cool detail. So let's get right to it then. Fundamentally, what is SUI?
Okay, so at its base, SUI is a layer 1 protocol, a blockchain.
Layer 1, okay. Like Bitcoin or Ethereum.
Exactly. Those are the big examples. They handle their own consensus, their own validation. They're the foundation.
Right, not like a layer 2, say, Polygon, which builds on top of Ethereum.
Precisely. SUI does its own thing.
Yeah.
It validates transactions, maintains security, all using its own native token, which is SUI. It's a completely separate foundation.
Gotcha. So a whole new base layer.
Yeah.
And when people say SUI, it's more than just the chain itself, isn't it? There's like a whole platform.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. The SUI platform includes the blockchain, definitely, but also all the surrounding bits.
Like what?
Well, the different networks they run. There's mainnet, that's for real transactions, real value.
The live one?
Right. Then testnet, where they, check updates before they go live. Quality assurance.
Makes sense.
DevNet is more for developers building new features, kind of experimental. And LocalNet, that's just running it on your own computer for testing.
Okay. Networks, transaction blocks, validators, full nodes.
Yep, all part of the platform. Validators are the ones confirming transactions, adding blocks. Full nodes are there too, sort of double-checking everything. It's a whole ecosystem designed to work together.
Okay. Now, tokens. We mentioned SUI, the main one. But there's also MIST, Y2.
MIST. Think of it like digital pennies for the SUI dollar.
Okay.
One SUI is equal to 1 billion MIST.
A billion, wow.
Yeah, it's just for handling really, really small amounts.
Sure,
Makes
yeah.
tiny transactions easier to manage, for gas fees.
Gas fees.
Yeah.
Transaction costs, data storage costs. You pay those in SUI or MIST.
Either one works. It just gives you that finer granularity, helps keep costs maybe a bit more predictable for really small actions.
Okay, that makes practical sense. So transactions happen, fees are paid. How does SUI actually make sure everything's legit? The consensus part.
Right, consensus. SUI uses something called delegated proof of stake, DPoS.
DPoS. Okay, I've heard of that. How does it work on SUI?
So you have validators. These are entities, could be individuals or companies, who stake SUI tokens. They lock them up.
As collateral, basically.
Kind of, yeah. It's a commitment. They put their own SUI on the line, or sometimes they manage SUI delegated to them by others, like the SUI Foundation or just regular SUI holders.
And staking aligns their incentives, makes them want the network to run well.
Exactly. If they act maliciously, they could lose their stake. So they're incentivized to keep the blockchain running smoothly and securely. It benefits everyone. Plus, DPoS is generally way less energy hungry than, say, Bitcoin's proof of work.
More energy efficient, that's good. But I heard SUI runs with only around 100 validators, is that right?
Yeah, currently it's in that ballpark, around 100 active ones.
Doesn't that impact decentralization? Seems like a small group.
Yeah, it's a trade-off they've made, yeah. Fewer validators can mean faster consensus. They can agree on transaction order more quickly. Speed is a big goal for SUI.
Okay, speed, but decentralization.
Right. So to counter the centralization concern of having fewer validators, they also have, I think the number is around 2,000, full nodes.
The full nodes we mentioned.
Yeah. These nodes don't propose blocks, but they independently download and verify everything the validators do. They add another layer of security and decentralization.
So validators for speed, full nodes for checking and adding decentralization.
That's the idea. There's actually a metric, the Nakamoto coefficient, that tries to measure how many entities you'd need to compromise to disrupt a chain. A higher number is generally better for security. SUI's balancing act aims for speed while keeping that number reasonably high through the full nodes.
Interesting balance. Okay, let's shift to the architecture. SUI seems pretty unique here. This move language and object-centric data. What's that about?
Yeah, those are definitely key differentiators. So Move is the programming language used for everything on SUI. Smart contracts, defining assets, all of it.
And it came from Meta? Facebook?
That's right. It was originally developed for their DM blockchain project, which didn't launch, but the language lived on. It was designed with safety and security in mind from the start, learning lessons from older smart contract languages.
Okay, so a secure language foundation. What about this object-centric part? That sounds different.
It really is. Most blockchains track account balances, right? Like
Yeah.
your wallet address has X amount of tokens.
Yeah.
SUI tracks the state of individual objects. Think of an object as a unique digital item. It could be a specific token, an NFT, a game character, anything. The blockchain tracks changes to these objects.
So instead of just seeing Alice sent Bob 5 tokens, Sui sees this specific object representing 5 tokens moved from Alice's control to Bob's control.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. It's much more granular. And this understanding of individual objects is what unlocks one of SUI's biggest features.
Which is?
Parallel transaction execution.
Processing things simultaneously.
Yes, because SUI knows exactly which objects are involved in each transaction if two transactions are touching completely different independent objects.
They don't interfere with each other.
Right. So SUI can process them at the same time in parallel. There's a huge contrast to chains like Ethereum, where most things happen sequentially, one after the other in a block.
And that leads to massive speed improvements, potentially. I saw numbers like 297,000 transactions per second.
Yeah, those are the kinds of figures they've demonstrated in test environments. It allows for potentially huge throughput.
Okay, but does every transaction run in parallel? Or is it more nuanced?
It's more nuanced. SUI's clever about it. It differentiates between simple and complex transactions,
Simple,
like just sending some tokens from me to you.
Oh.
If it doesn't involve complex interactions with shared objects or complicated smart contract logic,
Then what?
then it can often bypass the full consensus process. It uses a faster path, sometimes called Byzantine consistent broadcast, for near-instant finality. Super quick.
Okay, simple stuff is fast. What about complex stuff, like interacting with a DeFi protocol or a game?
Right. For those more complex transactions that might involve shared objects or intricate contract calls, SUI uses its full consensus engine. This involves a couple of key components you might hear about: Narwhal and Bullshark.
Narwhal and Bullshark, okay.
Think of Narwhal as like the waiting room, but super efficient. It's a DAG-based mempool that makes pending transactions available to validators really quickly.
Organizes the waiting transaction.
Exactly. And then Bullshark is the consensus engine itself. It takes the transactions organized by Narwhal and definitively orders them, making sure all the validators agree.
Narwhal preps, Bullshark confirms.
Pretty much. And they keep improving this too. In 2024, they rolled out an upgrade called Mysticetti.
Mysticetti.
Yeah, another cool name. It significantly reduced the time it takes for that Bullshark consensus part to finish the latency. So even complex transactions get faster.
They're really focused on speed at every level, it seems. Okay, let's quickly revisit those networks again.
Yeah.
Baynet, testnet, devnet, localnet. Just
Yeah.
a quick reminder.
Mainnet.live,
Sure.
real money, production stuff.
Got it.
Testnet staging area, testing updates before they hit mainnet.
Right.
Quality control,
Okay.
DevNet for developers playing with brand new, possibly unstable features, the cutting edge, and LocalNet. That's just running SUI privately on your own machine. Total control for development and debugging.
Perfect. So we understand the tech, the structure, what's actually happening on SUI. What's the ecosystem look like now, the stuff being built?
Oh yeah, definitely. The ecosystem's been growing really fast. Lots of DApps, decentralized applications popping up.
Like in DeFi, decentralized finance.
For sure. DeFi is a big area. You've got popular DXs, decentralized exchanges like Cetus and Turbos handling asset swaps. There's also DeepBook, which is SUI's own native on-chain order book for more traditional trading setups.
An on-chain order book, interesting. Is there much value locked up in SUI DeFi?
Quite a bit, actually. By, I think it was January 2025, the total value lock, the TVL, had crossed $2 billion. And trading volumes are pretty significant daily.
2 billion, wow. What helped drive that?
Well, having major stablecoins helps a lot.
Yeah.
Things like USDY and USDC are on SUI now, which brings liquidity and stability. Makes it easier for people to participate.
Makes sense. What about other areas? NFTs, gaming?
Yeah, big activity there too. NFT projects like Lizardland, Baby Ape Society, they build pretty strong communities.
Standard NFTs or anything special?
Well, this is where SUI's object model gets interesting again. It has really good support for dynamic NFTs.
Dynamic NFTs, what does that mean?
It means the NFT isn't static. Its metadata, its properties, even its appearance can change based on, external events or on-chain actions or just over time.
Oh, cool. So an NFT could level up Or change based on game progress.
Exactly. Projects like Sweeps are doing things like that, making NFTs that evolve and makes them much more interactive. And yeah, that ties right into GameFi blockchain gaming.
What games are using this?
There are titles like Final Stardust, Cosmocadia, Rushdown Revolt. They're using these dynamic NFTs for in-game items, characters, things that change as you play. Creates a more persistent, evolving game world.
That sounds way more engaging than just a static image.
It really is. And speaking of engagement, there was this huge success story with a Telegram mini app called Birds. Yeah, it's sort of a social fee GameFi blend.
Yeah.
Super simple interface, ran right inside Telegram. It onboarded millions of users, many totally new to crypto, apparently.
Millions? How?
Just really easy to use, viral mechanics, and they distributed a lot of their token, FUD, through the app. It showed how Sui's focus on user experience and low fees could attract a massive audience.
Interesting approach, leveraging existing platforms like Telegram. Now, I have to ask about the meme coins. I heard Sui had a bit of a frenzy there, too.
Oh, yes. Like many chains, Sui saw its share of meme coin mania. Tokens like ITPO and that FUD token from Birds, they got really popular really fast.
And that drove activity.
Absolutely. Lots of trading volume definitely contributed to the TVL increase. Again, Sui's low fees and speed make it kind of fertile ground for that sort of high-volume speculative trading. The combined market cap of Sui meme coins got pretty substantial for a while.
This shows the network can handle that kind of rapid-fire activity, I guess. Anything else in the ecosystem worth mentioning?
Yeah, beyond those main areas, you're seeing SocialFi projects trying new things, Oracle services bringing real-world data onto the chain, launchpads for new projects, bridges to connect Sui to other blockchains, even domain name services. It's becoming quite broad.
Sounds really vibrant, actually. Okay, let's talk about the SUI token itself then, the fuel for all this. We know it pays for gas. What about the total supply? How's it distributed?
Right, tokenomics. So the absolute maximum supply of SUI is capped at 10 billion tokens. That's it.
Fixed supply. Scarcity.
Yep. And as of, say, early 2025, the amount actually circulating was around 3.09 billion SUI. So quite a bit, still not in circulation.
Where is the rest? How was it initially allocated?
It was spread out. A big chunk, about half, went to the Sui Foundation.
A nonprofit.
Right. They use it for things like delegating stake to validators to help secure the network, giving out grants to developers, funding R&D, even subsidies to attract users and projects.
Okay, 50% to the foundation. What else?
Miston Labs, the company that did the core development, got 10%. Early contributors, the people involved from the very beginning, received 20%.
So rewarding the builders and early backers?
Exactly. Then 14% was sold in funding round to investors. And the last 6% was for something called the Community Access Program, aimed at getting tokens into the hands of the broader community.
Seems like a fairly standard distribution, trying to balance different groups. Is the rest of the supply just locked up?
Essentially, yes. It's subject to vesting schedules.
Yeah.
This means tokens are released gradually over time, not all at once.
To prevent dumping and encourage long-term holding.
That's the idea. Promote stability, keep people committed. Those investor and early contributor tokens especially often have lockups and then linear release periods. So yeah, roughly half the total supply is still locked up long term.
And the foundation uses its allocations strategically.
Right, like through things like the SuHub Accelerator program. They fund and support new projects building on Sui, using those reserved tokens to help grow the ecosystem directly.
Got it. Okay, this has been super comprehensive, really helpful for understanding Sui. Now, if someone listening is thinking, okay, I'm curious, I want to try interacting with Sui, maybe buy some SUI, try a D app, what's the safe way to start?
Good question. If you're going to hold SUI or interact with applications, especially involving any significant value, using a hardware wallet is definitely the recommended approach.
Like a ledger.
Exactly. Ledger is a popular example. The first step is to install the Sui app onto your Ledger device itself.
Okay.
Then you need a software wallet that's compatible with Sui. You can find official or recommended wallets on the Sui website. You connect that software wallet to your Ledger.
So the software wallet manages the interface, but the ledger holds the keys.
Precisely. Your private keys, the things that actually control your funds, never leave the secure hardware device. The software wallet just acts as the bridge to interact with dApps. It's much, much safer than just keeping keys in a browser extension or on your computer.
Definitely a best practice for security in crypto. Okay, fantastic. So let's try and wrap this up. If we were to boil it down, what are the absolute key things to take away about Sui from this deep dive?
Okay, I'd say Sui is a layer 1 blockchain built from the ground up with speed and scalability as top priorities.
Driven by that unique architecture.
Exactly. The Move language, designed for safety, and that really innovative object-centric data model are crucial. They enable the parallel transaction processing.
Which leads to potentially very high throughput and low latency.
Right. Combine that with the focus on low transaction fees and near-instant settlement.
Yep.
It's designed to be very user and developer-friendly in that sense.
And it's attracting a real ecosystem now.
Definitely. We're seeing real traction in DeFi, dynamic NFTs, GameFi is taking off. Even that meme coin activity shows engagement. It's becoming a diverse platform.
So the final thought then, what should you, our listener, be mulling over after hearing all this about SUI?
Well, I think the provocative question to ask yourself is this. How might these kinds of technological innovations of the parallel processing, the object model, the focus on usability, how might they actually change the future of decentralized applications and what we even mean by digital ownership?
Like, could this type of architecture enable completely new kinds of dApps we haven't even thought of yet?
Possibly. As the SUI ecosystem matures and developers really start leveraging these unique features, it'll be fascinating to see what emerges. What impact could this have on how we interact online, how we manage digital assets, maybe even how virtual worlds develop?
Lots to think about there.
For sure. So if this deep dive got you interested, definitely check out the SUI documentation, explore their community resources. There's plenty more to learn.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into SUI.